All right. Thank you so much for staying with the Daybreak. You're just in time for State of the Nation. We're talking about all matters, politics, and everything in between. Let me introduce my guests real quick again. Dr. Tiende Amolo, JLAC Vice Chair, and also Member of Parliament for Arieda is here with us. Dr. Kimani Wamatangi, Majority Whip, and Senator Kiambu is also here with us. Dr. Alfred Mutua, Governor for Machakos, is already here with us as well. And Honorable Samson Cherargei finally makes it to studio. Senator Fernandi is also here with us. Thank you so much for making time. So let's start off with this issue of counties in a crisis. There seems to be a spike of COVID-19 in counties, despite Nairobi, Machakos, Kajiado, Kiambu having been locked down as the DIZ, which is the disease-infested zones. We're seeing now Uasin Gishu is also ranking amongst the highest. Was this a good plan to lock down? And I'll start with you, Governor, because this is the fight now in the counties, and what is the best way to go forward? Because at the same time, you're also facing audit queries in the Senate.
I think the most important thing to realize is that COVID is a killer, and we've not really grasped how it really works and how it really moves around. And I want first to say salamu nyingi kwa our listeners and our viewers from all over the country and the region and all over the world, and also Ramadan Kareem to our brothers of the Muslim faith. As governors, we are quite concerned because we are seeing the number of deaths increasing. Let me give you an example. I have relatives and friends in a place called Kibwezi and Amali and that part of Makindo. And according to the reports that I'm getting, I'm losing so many of my relatives and friends there that there is basically a burial every single day of somebody that I know or that we know. That's how much it is. In my county in Machakos, I'm looking at the figures. We are losing, people die, but people don't die every day. But now, in the last 17 days of this month, we've lost nearly 70 people from different diseases. But COVID is in there. And in Machakos now we are testing dead bodies, and we're seeing that a lot of the bodies that we're testing have COVID. Nasikia mtu anasema nasikia hii change of weather hii Senator Cherargei alikuwa anasema kuna baridi na mvua kila wakati, naumwa na kitu, the next thing they are falling down, they have died. We find out that they had COVID. So we're getting to a place where it's becoming a crisis because of community transmission. What seems to be the problem is this South African variant that seems to have come from Tanzania up. And that is one that is spreading. So there's a sense of crisis of people are dying in large masses, especially the older folks, but now even younger people are dying. So we are worried as governors. Now the second thing that is worrying us is that we are not able to provide the proper health care to people because of lack of resources and lack of the ability to actually treat people. Because health care is all about medication. Even if you go to hospital and you have mild symptoms and you just need the Panadol, if the government cannot provide you a simple Panadol, then you're in trouble and you're a poor citizen. Because of lack of resources, because of a poor economy, because of lack of money coming from treasury, etc., etc., as they usually say. So there's a crisis. When it comes to the issues of the audit is good. The audit is good. Let the audit be done, but let the audit be secondary to what we're doing. Let's fight COVID, and let the audit not be a sensational audit that is trying to assign blame. Because at times, audits should be done to find out and establish the truth of what is happening. And if you want to find out the truth, you ask the people who are concerned about the truth. We have seen the committee, the Senate committee in charge of health, demanding the governors to go. And the governor says, well, I'm not in charge of the monies from health. It was being done under my Ministry of Health. So let my CEC and my chief officer, who is the accounting officer, go and answer the questions. And they're saying, no, we want the governor here. Because when the governor will go, the governor atakaa tu chini, ambie huyu ongea. Because he's a person who knows, And so we are seeing this culture of trying to sensationalize everything by demanding that the governor has to be there in place, to answer questions about each and everything. So let's whenever a chief has whenever there's a problem about allocation of money to a chief in Kapenguria, let's call President Uhuru Kenyatta. Akae hapo ajibu maswali. Siende hapo na Matiang'i, aende hapo yeye mwenyewe ajibu maswali. It's ridiculous at the least. So the issues of an audit is let's unravel the truth. accountability is very, very important. This is state money, this is public money that needs to be accounted for. Okay. But let's be doing it from a point of view where we are trying to gather the truth.
Yeah. Wamatangi, is the Senate dragging the county chiefs by the collar in the court of public opinion? Because like Mutua says, I mean, the CEC should be able to explain why are they insisting that the governor has to be there. And then we're also seeing that the spread of COVID-19 has gone countrywide now. So why was it even necessary to lock the 5 counties?
Yes, morning, Trevor, and morning to our viewers. Trevor, yes, I would rather start with that last question on on how is it at our counties, and it's very concerning. It's a matter of great concern that after we thought the lockdown on the borderline of the 5 counties was going to help at least prevent, and the reason why I say it's a serious matter of concern, Trevor, is because at those counties is probably where you expect that there is lesser of facilities that would take care of the COVID cases. I say that because if you look at Nairobi and its environs, at least in Nairobi you have hospitals which are managed by national government like Kenyatta and others. And you find that it is easier to get facilities for treatment. I'm surprised that up to today, Trevor, you find that our people are still not taking the question of transmission of COVID as seriously as it should be. Yeah. And I was speaking to a friend of mine who had visited us here in Kenya the other day to come and attend a burial of a relative who had passed away in Nakuru over COVID. And he returned to the UK. Upon return to the UK, he and his wife are quarantined mandatory, and they're residents there for 14 days, and you can't move out. And you are only brought what you want when to order or to buy when you have ordered it for it online, until you are proven that indeed you have come out clean. If you look at their streets, and that's what the gentleman was trying to tell me, their streets are clean. People are seriously observing the restrictions. Yeah. This is the problem that we have in our country, Trevor. And I really want to urge Kenyans that let's not test this monster, because if we persist by not observing those regulations, then we could have a very, very tough situation. And I know Kenyans have been complaining, justifiably so, that the economic situation is very hard on our people. That is true. And as I said the last time, that indeed that concerns all of us. We are all affected, but we have to treat this disease with the seriousness that it deserves, so that we can see lowering of the infection rates. I was positive and happy yesterday and the day before when it was reported at least we've come down in the rate of infections within the zoned area. But now, unfortunately, it's gone to the counties, and that's where most of our fears are. So I would want to take the opportunity to urge my colleagues in leadership, let us sensitize the people and let's not politicize the question of what do we tell our people about infections. Secondly, on this question that you have raised on is Senate dragging governors by the collar? That's the question you've posed. And I want to probably first clear the air to Kenyans on what the responsibilities of the governor are at the county government level, differently from the president himself. And you see, the Constitution assigns accountability and responsibility directly to the governor at county level. Indeed, the Constitution describes the governor as the CEO of the county. And that's the difference. That you find that governors are directly involved, including signing and including issuing whatever orders or authorities, and being directly in line of how expenses are incurred at the county government level. And when it comes to accountability, Trevor, I have always insisted that you cannot find a back route. There is no way that when it comes to asking, we give you money, you asked for this money, you've got it, how have you spent the money? Let's not try to push this to CECs, to see to chief officers and other people who are down the line of execution. The governor stands at the helm of the county. Okay. It is about responsibility taking. And because, remember, Trevor, here, we talked about KEMSA scandal and other scandals. Why are we so happy to talk about it when it is other people, when it cannot be assigned to a certain person? But when we want to get down to where it matters, and devolution is the backbone of our development going forward now. Yeah. So the sooner we treat it as seriously as we should, the better. Okay. So I want to urge my colleague, Governor Mutua, and other governors that on the question of accountability, stand in front. Be as firm as you have been on other matters you want to bring about development. So you're building roads, we're happy you're doing things about COVID at the county government level. That is laudable. But also on accountability, ensure that you're accountable. My last point, Trevor. See, we procured under COVID, for COVID procurement under emergency rules. Yeah. And this is where the mess is. Yesterday I was with my own county of Kiambu because they also appeared. And some of the things you see there are outrageous. And other counties too. I was listening also to the one between the Governor Umburanga and others that have appeared before that committee. And I tell you, just what you saw at the KEMSA scandal is what you're going to be seeing in many counties. Because this is where people want to go and put their hand in the cookie jar because they were told procure urgently. Yeah.
Chirarge? Especially on the counties and the governors being accountable for this money that was spent. Most of the questions that are coming through from the Senate is that there was no work plan for this expenditure. The governors have spoken to keep saying that this was an emergency and we had a plan. How then would you claim that they don't have a work plan?
Thank you and good morning to our viewers. And I think where I can start from is that the issue of accountability and transparency, if we want to move forward, devolution should not be optional. And the other time, I remember when we were having debate on division of revenue, some of us were blasting the National Treasury for violating Article 219 when they delayed to disperse, and we said then that counties were being owed 52 billion. So we want to request our governors, and including our brother here, that in as much as they demand for the money to be allocated as soon as practicably possible, they should also be ready to be accountable and transparent. And I think Senator of Kiambu has put it very well, that unlike the president, the governors enjoy the status of a CEO. And in fact, in the Constitution, it's expressingly in the section I'll recall before the close of this discussion, has put personal culpability on a governor, even after leaving office. And therefore, these are things that we want to agree with, that in as much as the law was not suspended, the Public Finance Management Act did apply, and most governors did not have what we call procurement plans. You saw in the special audit report that was done by Auditor General that most counties, in fact yesterday my Nandi County Assembly was concluding on the report on ad hoc committee on the COVID use of funds, and you could see there is a lot of clear, and even as we go through that, the courts have even decided, and it is good we have senior counsel, that even governors can appear before a county assembly. And these issues have already been discussed before, and many of the issues I can see they are appearing before the Senate committee virtually, and it is a matter of explaining, and so that your people know. It is like, you know, there is social audit also, so that people know what really happened. For example, yesterday in Nandi County Assembly, they did confirm that the oxygen plan is dysfunctional. They did confirm that PPAs are not enough, that money was not used appropriately, around 244 million. And you can see even in the daily newspapers as reported that 4 officials must be suspended because of misuse of an abuse of COVID funds. So when you look at all these issues, we also, it is not even about Senate. It is also that the county assemblies must be given role in terms of audit of these COVID funds. And I hope in future in this show, you'll be able to even call in the chairpersons of health committees in county assembly so that they can disclose to the country what are they doing at the level. Because it's not about the governors and the senators. The role of the Senate is to oversight that man. So I want to ask our colleagues and the governor of Machakos, who wants to be the CEO of this country, he should be very excited sharing what happened with the COVID funds that was being allocated to Machakos, and I think that's very important. On the second part of the question, I agree that I saw the chairperson, and they are doing very well, Council of Governors, and it's good that my majority whip is here. I'm happy that the Council of Governors are now giving us regular updates on the status of COVID in counties, and is increasing that community transmission is ongoing. I think what is important, I heard something very, very, very shocking, that the reason it's like we are seeing the infection has gone down in the country is because there is not enough testing kit. You see in India, they are saying the 200,000 people are tested positive for COVID in India because of the massive testing. So in as much as we want to bring control in these 5 lockdown counties, the point should be, what are we putting in place? Do we have sufficient test kits? Do we have enough mass testing so that we know? Now as we talk in our counties, even in Nandi, just like any other counties, I know several people who are passed on because of COVID complications, because there is people have lowered their card, and people are no longer applying the social distance, the sanitization, the wearing of the mask in public places. So I want to say that I agree with the Council of Governors yesterday. I think Kisumu Governor, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, indicated that there is no enough mass testing. The issue of community transmissions is also a big problem. I can see the positivity within these lockdown counties 5 has come down. But the question is, are we delaying the spread of the COVID, or are we in control? Because even if we lock down, it means just we delay, because the moment we open these 5 counties, it means these, for example, Nairobi is like the epicenter of the entire country. And finally, I want to close by saying my final point on that is that it is shocking that we lock down 5. Yet I don't want to foresee, I can see there is some level of diplomatic engagement between Tanzania and Kenya. But you remember Tanzania on the issue of COVID, they have not been able to be in a position to tell the world whether they agree with the scientific issues we have. So there is a variant that is coming up from Tanzania. The border between Tanzania and Kenya is porous. You had even, I think, was it a county commissioner saying, when people go to Tanzania to drink and merry-make, then come back to Kenya. And that is, I agree that there is a variant that comes from South Africa. There was one from the UK. So what are we doing about our border? Because in as much as we lock down these 5 counties, what happens within our border between Kenya and Tanzania? Of course, we suspended the flights between UK and Kenya. Those are some of the challenges we are facing in the country. But I want to continue appeal to county governments that they should not let their guard. I had one person yesterday in the county assembly of Nandi that the CC in charge of health was telling them, we are not giving out masks until the spike of COVID in the county goes up. So I want to advise them that it is better to prevent than to wait for things to happen.
All right. Dr. Tiende?
Trevor, it's been a difficult week. This is the week we've lost a renowned scholar, Professor Okidi. We lost my teacher, Professor Yash Vyas. We lost a judge, Justice Remita. And I also lost 2 cousins, CK Sinoklo and Oje Ojuka, some of whom died of COVID. And COVID is real, as we keep saying on this show. At least one of my cousins, who I'm burying soon, died of COVID. I think it was about a month or so ago when I suggested that the government needs to take further measures for restriction to control the spread of COVID. And indeed, the government did, and I applaud it. But I think the idea of having 5 counties as the disease-infected zones, while good, it has had unintended consequences. It has somehow brought a sense of security to the rest of the counties, that those 5 are the ones with the disease, the rest of us don't have. And it has somehow caused some lapse in terms of COVID measures, the citizens need to know that although the government designated 5 counties as disease-infected zones, COVID is real and it's real everywhere. And I actually think that it might be necessary to spread the measures beyond the 5 counties. Yeah. Because outside the 5 counties, people are starting to go on with life as if it is normal, and it is not normal. I think that we must really focus on this thing. The truth is, and we've said it here in this show, yeah, part of our biggest problem was when we relapsed on the measures that were taken in terms of our border with our good neighbors in Tanzania. When, you know, we froze the flights from Tanzania and took more strict measures, and then they reciprocated. Yeah. And then in terms of just being able to fly to Tanzania for Kenya Airways and all, we relapsed on them. I think that's the biggest problem. And part of that problem, therefore, means that the counties that neighbor our good neighbor Tanzania need to be part of the counties with stricter measures, and that includes Kajiado, yeah, and Nyanza. Because as I honestly believe, and that is the truth, that we have a number of variants, the UK variant, the South African variant, but our biggest problem was from the measures or lack of measures that were taken by Tanzania. Secondly, I think that we must be strict with the counties. Yeah. The fact that COVID is an emergency cannot be an excuse to flout and abuse procurement laws. The laws of procurement predict that there can even be an emergency. And you can have restricted procurement or direct procurement or whatever other procurement. But you cannot use the emergency as an excuse to flout regulations, which then end up being a scandal. Because usually, a number of people in government usually would use an emergency as the excuse to, you know, to do things that would end up being illegal. We must hold them to account. Lastly, on this issue, since we are on COVID, let me now report, because I mentioned here, I think it was 2 weeks ago, yeah, that I addressed an issue with the Sputnik, that Sputnik vaccine, which Cherege will tell us whether he has taken or not. And if he did, what will happen to what the requirement of the second dose, because I know his boss did. I have since gotten a response yeah, from the relevant body, which I shared on my Twitter account, but which raises very interesting issues. It raises 3 very interesting issues. In their response to me, they indicate that the very same day that an application was made for approval is the same day it was approved, which is interesting. I mean, how do you predict that an application will come and that then you say, you know, on 12th of March? Secondly, they admit that it has not been approved by the World Health Organization, which is again serious. And thirdly, when I had asked whether they did efficacy tests, the response was that that was done by the manufacturers. You know, which then begs the question, what is the role of the Pharmacy and Poisons Board? Yeah. Because every manufacturer usually do what they call their own test, and by the time they produce something, they believe yeah, it is okay. So we will pursue that separately. Okay.
Governor Mutu, I'll give you a chance to respond to this before we move on to a different topic, because there seems to be a consensus that governors need to be more accountable.
As accountable. You know, there's this feeling, and you know, it's funny because you find a lot of senators keep on saying governors this, and the next thing they want is to be governors. And when they get there also, they start saying no. You know, there's a difference between theory and practice. Very big difference between theory and practice. And I was looking at the Constitution here, and I'm looking at the law in the Constitution that assigns powers to the president and powers to the governors. Very, very similar. And when we took over as governors, we were being called mini presidents. Why? Because devolution is a copy of the national government. You find there's a president with a cabinet that makes decisions. There's a governor with his cabinet or her cabinet that also make decisions. It's the same criteria.
Yeah.
The accounting, the PFM Act, assigns responsibilities to counties. The governor is not given a responsibility by the PFM Act. Neither is the president. There is the appointment of an accounting officer.
Yeah.
There's a appointment of the Minister of Finance, who is given powers to appoint accounting officers. And the same way in the national government, which I served in. Very, very similar. So that's what I'm saying, the responsibilities there. Let me say several things. One, public money has to be accounted for. And counties have to account for every shilling that is spent. And it has to be spent well. Number two, what is the role of the procurement laws? The procurement laws are set in place to ensure fairness and value for money, and to actually provide a process where things are done properly. Senator Chirangai has said very well that yes, there are emergencies and there are procedures that need to be followed all the time. But you see, everything is has to be looked at from a circumstance. What do you call it, my legal friend? Every circumstance is different. When you go to a court of law, the judge does not rule just based on the law. You have to look at the circumstances prevailing. You see, if there's an emergency, what do you do? The other day I was driving, and it's coming Nairobi, and I was driving on State House Road. And I was driving, I saw a man lying down by the side of the road, and he was jerking his hands. And as I passed, it occurred to me, that man looks like he's sick. See, Levi, you know, at MDC, because the man is wearing a mask, well, you know, wearing a pair of jeans and a shirt. He looked like sick. So what did I do? I stopped, and I did an illegal U-turn, because I looked through my mirror and I saw just people passing. I made an illegal U-turn, and I went and I stood in the middle of the road and put on my hazards, and I was getting out of the car when police from who are protecting an embassy building there came out, and we were able to raise the man, and realized actually he was suffering from maybe epilepsy or something else, and proceeded now to take them to find a way of taking him to hospital and get him cured. Now, I made an illegal U-turn. You know, I blocked the highway. I mean, I actually contravened the law.
Yeah.
But was it justified? So everything has to be looked at according to the circumstances that is happening. And here I've given stories before, whereby in this country and in many third world countries, we are bogged down by procedures and bureaucracy without realizing that things are important. I've given you the example, and I asked you whether you can swim. And I know you're from Nyanza, but I don't know that you can swim. And
it is a basic requirement.
Yeah, of survival.
Yes.
And you know, and I've always said, you go here to the YMCA here, or you go to a pool in one of the counties, and it says clearly there. I've given this example here before: do not enter the pool unless you're wearing a swimming costume and before you take a shower. So Dr. Otieno Molo is passing there, and he sees that sign. And then all of a sudden, there's a 2-year-old kid who slips and falls into the pool and starts to drown. Now, as a stickler to the rule of law and the procedures, what do? Now, will Dr. Otieno Molo now go to look for a swimming costume and take a shower before now jumping into the pool to save the kid? No. I, Alfred Mutua, will jump into the pool. We'll discuss the rules later when the child is alive. When it comes to COVID, that was a circumstance. The president declared, let us all of a sudden have 300 isolation beds. Let us have this, this, and this. And so you don't have time to say, okay, let's put a notice in the newspaper. We need public participation so we can prepare procurement plans. We need discussion in the county assembly. So a whole month of following procedures to prepare a procurement plan so that now you can get it, you can get the beds to save the lives of our people. It's ridiculous. So even as we audit, we need to audit and say, okay, you didn't have an emergency, you didn't have a procurement plan for this because it was an emergency. The question is, how did you do now the procurement according to the emergency laws? Yeah. Was that done properly, or was that done to benefit certain individuals? Yeah. We don't want these scams. So as a person who is a stickler or in terms of accountability, it is important to say, let us look at the accountability part.
Okay.
Who got the tenders and how was it done? But going back to looking at ilikuwa wapi procurement law? Hey, mbona ulifanya hiyo illegal hiyo turn? Hey, mbona uliingia kwa swimming pool na huko umevaa nguo? I mean, it's ridiculous at best. So I'm asking the ones who are doing the investigation, let us also be reasonable. Okay. Kenyans are not stupid, and let's do things properly.
Okay.
But people have to be accountable, and the right people have to be accountable.
All right. I have to take a quick break.
Trevor, just a quick one.
Governor,
Just a very quick one. Very brief.
Let's
Very
have
brief.
one
I
more
just
time.
wanted to
Very
put
brief.
this in perspective.
Yes.
You just want to
because
show that
I'm the one who brought it
Yes.
up. And I'll be referring to the Constitution, Article 179(4). That's the one I was quoting. And it is clear. It says that in one, it vests the executive authority of the county in the executive committee appointed by the governor. And the governor is a member of that executive committee. But 4 is very clear. It says that the county governor and the deputy county governor are the chief executive officer of the county government. And when you are the CEO of the county, then that authority, including the authority to incur expenditure, lies with the governor. So that's direct responsibility. And what we are trying to put clear here is that this notion that when you tell a governor to appear and account for funds that have been allocated to the county, that it amounts or is tantamount to a witch hunt or a duel between a senator. It is a question of where and how have you used the authority vested upon you by the Constitution.
Can I reply to that?
Can I say
Can I just reply to that because we are quoting the Constitution. Now the same Constitution, 2010, in Article 130 says the national executive authority of the Republic of Kenya is vested on the President, the Deputy President, and the rest of the Cabinet. The same way the one for the counties is vested on the Governor, the Deputy Governor, and the Cabinet. And it says that authority of the President, of the roles of the President, is to exercise the executive authority, the same way we exercise executive authority in our counties. There is no difference. You know, there is no difference. It's all in terms of the way it is written. Otiendo Molo was there when we were writing the Constitution and everything. And the President is accountable to Kenyans. That's why we say the buck stops with the President. The President appoints, the President is there looking at the budget and how it's spent. The President can dismiss, you know.
Let's not
and
get
so let us not get caught up
I'm
with
concerned
that.
about the work plan. Is that where the issue is, or is it how the money was spent, not
there
the
are
work
two things that Governor Mutua is strategically avoiding. One is that Parliament, when the emergency did happen, Parliament then the cabinet secretary in charge of finance and national planning under section 24(4) has power to issue regulations, and Parliament did pass what we call the Public Finance Management COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund Regulation 2020 as per the PMF Act that is in place. Now the two things that Kenyans can put into context is that the counties had already a pre-qualified list of suppliers, number one. Number two, counties had already procurement plans. So it is not an issue that the counties started immediately when there was an issue of a COVID pandemic. So the question the governors and the county government should be telling the world is like that when COVID started, they didn't even have procurement plans. They didn't even have pre-qualified companies. And the laws allowed them to call and say, Trevor, you have a pre-qualified companies that supplies pharmaceuticals or non-pharmaceuticals. Can you supply to us? There was already a procurement plan that they have in place. There was already regulations we had passed as Parliament. So the county governments cannot cherry pick on what they should respond in based on the Public Finance and Management Act. And the Act itself has given power and regulations are in place. So the question the county government should answer to the world, all 47 of them, that did they have a procurement plan? Yes, because there was ongoing procurement even before COVID. Did they have pre-qualified companies? Yes, they were in place. And all these issues are on the table. It is not that the county government did start after when the COVID happened. And I want also finally to say that Governor Mutua should know that the place of a governor is so unique. And the interpretation, even in the Mumbai case, where most governors are not accessing the offices because of the executive role that they have. And even when you look under Article 226, sub-Article 5 of the Constitution of 2010 of Kenya, there is that personal responsibility. Even you, after these 2 terms as the governor of Machakos, if there is any culpability that you must have done, the law under the Constitution, Article 225, the Constitution 2010 of Kenya, they can still come after you. So my question is that the county governors enjoy a very unique, and I was happy yesterday there was an famous, the governor of Muranga, Governor Mwangi wa Iria, has been avoiding. And in fact, I remember there was a time that he was being summoned by the Senate to appear before Public Accounts Committee, and I'm happy the Health Committee did not allow the Muranga County Executive to proceed without the head who is the Chief Executive. And I think that is what we are just telling the governors, in as much as we are pushing for more resources, you must also be ready to account, because all this money is not only about the audit that we have, but we must agree on the social audit aspect of the process.
Okay. Gentlemen, I have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have to shift gears here and talk about other things, but I'll give you a chance to wind up on that topic in just a bit. Keep the views coming at Trevor Mbidi at Citizen TV Kenya, #Daybreak. Back in a bit.